friends give me some advice, and they said, listen, you help too many people. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, you lose focus of what you're doing because you're helping all these other random people that you might not be that close with. So I really took that to heart, and I thought about that. And I said, I want to really focus on my family, my team, and then my close friends.
Yeah.
And so I got better at saying no to things. I think what happens to a lot of people, and I still struggle with this, you help other people achieve their goals, and then sometimes you lose focus on your goals, but at the detriment of what you're trying to achieve. Treading water is the same as drowning to people like you and me. You better start swimming. Welcome to I'm the One podcast. I'm your host, Robb Green. Casey, excited to have you here.
I'm pumped to be here.
Inaugural episode of I'm the One podcast.
Yeah, it's on.
I think we're just going to have a conversation about what's happening. And really one thing I want to kind of kickstart this conversation off with is a question I recently heard, which is, who do you want to be a hero to? And I've been thinking about that a lot lately since my friend Chad said it to me. And really it's difficult to kind of figure out what that means. What does the word hero mean?
Right. Well, that's the thing is when I hear hero, I go to superhero. That's just naturally for me. And that's a whole different thing. So going back to hero, if you look at the definition, it's something about, being admired and looking up to. And I'll be honest, for me, and it's been something I've had to work on my entire life, is not good with gifts, not good with compliments. It's just one of those things. So when I think about that question, like, who do I want to be a hero to? It's a tough one, but as a coach, I guess my answer would be my clients, because that's who I'm trying to help become better in their lives and who they are. But with that said, I don't turn off my coaching. So it could be somebody I just meet on the street and I just have a random conversation with, as long as I can leave them with a nugget that makes them a little bit better for that day, for their life, whatever. So
you said you're not good with compliments,
right?
At receiving or giving?
Receiving. The gifts, compliments, I usually deflect somewhere else. I've worked on it. I'm getting better at it, but it's just one of those things.
Have you thought of why?
I haven't done the deep dive.
Okay.
But I've surfaced it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that it doesn't seem natural to me, but at the same time, I'm okay with it. I'm working on it.
That's great.
Day by day. Like somebody sends me a comment, I'm like, I got to remember. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Got
Instead
it.
of like deflecting into somewhere else.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel like they're not worthy of the compliment or the gift. It's interesting that you go to the superhero. I never thought of the superhero concept.
Really?
Never.
That never comes in?
Never.
Interesting. Okay.
And I've thought this question many, many times already. I initially go to my kids. So I've got a 12-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old daughter.
Of course.
And my wife gives me a hard time that how much they love me and worship me and not as much for her. But to be honest with you, I love it. It's great. I mean, I like to be a hero to them.
Dad. I love it. Okay.
It forces me to kind of live up to a bigger standard with them, I think, because of the way that they look at me and the way they think about it. So when I think of hero, the first thing I think about is how can I be a hero to them, right? And I also think when I think about it a lot, I think about like kids versus adults, right?
Okay.
Kids need more of that, in my opinion, than adults do. I mean,
more of what?
More of that, someone to look up to, more of that inspiration, that aspiration, that softer touch to kind of keep them going and building that self-esteem, especially having two daughters. And one of the teachers, one of my favorite teachers of all time that both my daughters had, Miss Yuki Young, said, be careful with certain words, because a boy at 5 years old gets labeled assertive, strong, a leader.
Yep.
The girl, the same, exhibiting the same behaviors, sometimes get labeled as bossy, difficult.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes the B word, depending on how old they are. Usually not the 5-year-olds. Double standard for sure. But it's interesting how it starts such an early age to classify people, right? So for me, the hero thing was definitely my kids first. I think then I went to friends and team, the business. A few years ago, I had some friends give me some advice, and they said, listen, you help too many people. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, you lose focus of what you're doing because you're helping all these other random people that you might not be that close with or maybe not associated with. So I really took that to heart, and I thought about that. And I said, I want to really focus on spending. I only have so much energy. We only have so much energy and so much time. I really want to focus on my team, my family, my team, and then my close friends.
Yeah.
And so I got better at saying no to things.
Oh,
right. Yes. And that was a tough one for me.
Were you a people pleaser?
I think my default is yes.
Yeah.
I always love helping everybody.
I think most people naturally, that's it. A lot of my clients, I would say 90%, I would have to work with them on that at some point. And I definitely was myself at some point.
Yeah, it took me to come up with I needed a saying. And so what I did, the framework I used is that I switched it to, I'm only available to help other people between 2 and 3 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so I send up a Calendly for that.
Wait, repeat that?
I'm only able to help other people outside of my company between 2 and 3 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
What that did is it was a forcing function, because people would reach out and say, hey, can you help me? And I'd say, yeah, I can help you. Go schedule 30 minutes on my Calendly. Here's my link. Between 2 and 3, it'll only be available between 2 and 3 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And some people would reply back and they'd say, you know what? Can you do 5 p.m. on Wednesday? No. You're asking me for help. These are the hours that I've batched for that, instead of trading off my time with my family, my business. I think what happens to a lot of people, and I still struggle with this, you help other people achieve their goals, and then sometimes you lose focus on your goals, right? 100. And by helping too much, you get taken away, and now you're really helping somebody else achieve their goal, which is great, but at the detriment of what you're trying to achieve.
100%.
And so that was a great resource for me to actually start doing that. I've gotten away from it because a lot of people won't even ask anymore then, because they won't follow the rules. The other little piece to that I added in is that in Calendly, there's a form that they had to fill out, and they had to fill that form out so I could read it before we met. And if I read that form in 30 seconds, I knew, could I help you? How could I help you? What your problem was, instead of spending 15 minutes having you tell me what the issue is. And so I could understand it going in, and we could dive right in if I could give any assistance. And maybe I couldn't help, and that's okay too. Yeah. But I could tell right away, like, hey, listen, you got a problem that I'm not an expert in, but I've got a friend that might be able to help you, or I don't know where to go with this. This is back in the day before AI a few years ago. So now I just, tell everybody go to AI, Claude or Claude.ai or ChatGPT, figure it out on your own.
You haven't heard of it? Come on.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy to me. I think, in the world that we live in, and especially with my friends and family, my kids are in ChatGPT. My daughter went to start at 9th grade the other day. She said every single syllabus in every single class has a note in there, you cannot use ChatGPT. And honestly, my first answer was, they're not that smart. We'll probably figure out a way to use it around that. Oh. But you're still going to use ChatGPT, because you're going to go ahead and figure out, how can I use this to learn? She was using it over the summer. She had a book she had to read over the summer before school started. And so she was using it to help get her better understanding in the historical context.
Yeah.
I forgot what the topic was, but it was something around beer in Germany or something like that. Perfect. And she's like, I don't have any experience with beer, and I don't really understand Germany that much. So how can I get a better understanding of it? And ChatGPT helped fill in the gaps for her.
Love it.
And I think that, it used to be the old, just Google it. And now it's like just ChatGPT.
Yeah. And I mean, with that said though, using it in that way is perfect, because you're just sparking ideas, and you're getting a little bit more information so that you can form your own instead of copy paste.
Yeah.
Which is what they're obviously.
Yeah. I think it's gotten a little better than when we were kids. I mean, when I was a kid, it was all memorization, right? And I don't think memorization really has any value. I mean, we all have a computer in our pocket now. We have now AI. I mean, AI is going to, it's not AGI yet, but it's going to be at some point. But we're getting closer and closer to the AI doing all of the difficult tasks, the computation, all that stuff. You don't need to know memorizing the capital of the 50 states. I'm not sure that's going to add a lot of value to your life in the future.
Don't get me started on the whole school system and how they try and teach us. And
yeah, we've been fortunate to be able to send our kids to a Montessori school, which I think is a different education and a different focus for the school system. But we've just realized that no matter where you go, whatever school you go to, there's no perfect idea of a school. So we try to supplement.
Sure. Oh, that's it.
We supplement with everything, whether it's Khan Academy, whether one of my daughters is in a program called Synthesis, which is a great program. It's online group-based or cohort-based teaching through games.
Ooh.
And I forget the guy's name that started, but he's the same guy that started Elon Musk School for his kids. And so it's all these fun games. You've never seen these games or played them before. And it's a cohort of kids, and they're all playing the games, and they give you almost no instruction. And it's your team against the other team, and they give you nothing. And you just have to figure it out.
I would have liked school if I had that.
It's amazing.
Oh,
it's amazing. It's super fun. She has a great time with it. She talks to other kids, and then they have to solve the problem together.
Oh,
so it's interpersonal skills, problem solving, all that kind of fun stuff.
Love it. So I have a question for you, and it's we're new friends.
Yeah.
And when you asked me to, take on this challenge opportunity, I was like, okay, well, first of all, like, I want to know who you are. I've done a little, stalking, but there isn't much on you out there, which kudos to you. But give us a little background and just who you are in general.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. I grew up Midwest, divorced parents, lower income. Didn't really have I didn't have any mentors or really knew what was possible. First person on my mom's side to go to college, first person on my dad's side to get a graduate degree. So moved out to Arizona, went to undergrad, ASU, got a bachelor's degree, finance. Went
Why
back.
Arizona?
I hate the cold.
Okay.
I like driving in the cold or flying in the cold, maybe doing a little snowboarding,
Sure.
but man, it was a great place to grow up in the Midwest. I grew up in Minnesota. I loved as a kid, playing a little hockey, going sledding, things like that. And then when I got old enough to drive, I was like, this kind of sucks. I got to warm my car up. I got to scrape the windows every time. I'm like, this is not me. I like sunshine. I like nice, sunny every day, 300 days a year. So I moved out to Arizona, went to school. I had no mentor to really say, hey, you should go here. I said, this is great. ASU sounds great. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Decent business school.
ASU, a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. My uncle went in the 70s. He was in Vietnam, and he came back from Vietnam. He said, where does it rain the least in the United States?
Nice.
He said, I'm going to Phoenix, Arizona to go to college.
Nice.
So I came out here, and I met with him, and he said, hey, listen, just so you know, in Arizona, they pay you in sunshine and women. And I said, oh, okay, that's different. And he said, when you go to ASU, he said, just don't pick your head up. And I was like, I don't understand what you mean. He said, well, you pick your head up, you'll never make it to class. Be following some girl this way and you following some girl that way. And so I said, all right, come on. There's a lot of pretty girls in Minnesota. What are you talking about? And then I went to my first class and I was like, wait, there's like 10 pretty girls in this class. And the next one has 20 pretty girls. But I get off track, as I usually do.
Let me just back on that. So
yeah.
I moved here from the Bay Area about 25 years ago. And when I was leaving, the guy I was working with goes, oh, you're moving to where all the good looking people live. And I was like, yeah, they recruited me, just joking around. I got here. I was like, I'm average. I went from decent looking in the Bay Area to average at best.
Yeah. I like to say I'm maybe a Minnesota 7 or 8. I'm a Scottsdale 5.
Right.
So it's definitely a little higher.
That's cutting yourself short.
I'll take a 5.5.
Right,
but it's definitely a little harder to obviously stand out in Scottsdale, but also it's a much bigger pool of attractive people. But those days are long gone now that I've been married for 15 years. So so back to where I've come from. I've come from this background. I said, I don't know what to do. I got a typical job in corporate America. Worked for a handful of Fortune 500 companies.
What were you doing?
Finance. So I was a stockbroker for a while. I worked in the mortgage industry.
Did that interest you? Did you like that? What was your major?
Finance was undergrad, and then I got an MBA a couple years later. I liked finance a lot, but it wasn't really true finance. It was more like pseudo finance, I guess you'd say. It wasn't like an investment banker or private equity, which would have probably been a lot more enjoyable for me.
Well, you didn't go to Harvard or Yale.
I didn't go to any of the schools that would got me into those jobs, but it was a great experience. And I just kept going from big company to big company, wondering like, all right, maybe this one will be different. This one will be different. And none of them really satisfied that itch, I guess you'd say. Mm-hmm. And really, as I thought about it, it was like, God, I got to do something different. And I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even when I was in high school, I looked at colleges to go be an entrepreneur. And I didn't even really understand what it meant. I didn't have any friends that owned businesses, friends' parents that owned businesses.
Do you remember the first time, that first moment where you're like, this is it? I want to be an entrepreneur, or did you get a feeling? Because I have one, and mine is this. We had an extra bedroom, and back in the day, there was no internet at this point, I'm that old. And this company, you could cut local news stories out, send them in, and if they published them, you got money.
Okay.
So I had this empty room, and I had just local papers laid out, and I had this feeling there was nothing, there was no top. It was just, I could do anything and everything. And I was 14. And that was the first moment I knew, oh, it's on. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to work for myself. I actually didn't say that until I was about 20, because I had about 27 different jobs between 16 and 20, because I would work somewhere for 2 weeks. Didn't like it. Go to another place. But it wasn't the place or the person. It was, I didn't want to work for anybody. I want to work for myself. So that was what I did. So did you have a moment or?
Yeah, I don't know if I had one moment, but I had a series of moments where I don't think I'm definitely not cut out for the military. I didn't like people tell me what to do. So I don't think I like that. And, we're about the same age. I mean, it was $4.25 was minimum wage way back when. Oh. And I think I showed up for the first day at my crappy job at like a fast food restaurant. And I asked my buddy who got me the job there, and I said, do I have to go back tomorrow? Because that was terrible. And I made like $20. I don't understand what I'm doing here. And, but the best thing I think around the entrepreneur that I got to experience is that I had a friend in the neighborhood He was a couple years older, and his brother owned a roofing company. So his brother would let him bring a friend with him to come work on a roofing job in the summertime and to see who would work the hardest, essentially. So a few of us got a shot at it. And you start off, when it's roofing, you start off the bottom. You're cleaning up the tear off, right? So you're picking up nails and asphalt and all that stuff. And so I worked the hardest, so I got the job. So I was like 14. I started doing some roofing in the summer, and you move up and you start tearing off the roof. Start falling off roofs. Then you start shingling. Oh, many times.
Oh, nice.
It's Minnesota, even during the winter, which is just insane to me now that I look back, where you go up to a roof and you got to shovel it off and then tear it off. But anyway, it was a great job. And his brother, Tim Downing, actually had his own business, and he had a great house. He had some money, and he had his own business of roofing, and he would go out and he would bid the job, and it was your traditional blue collar. He had a handful of us guys that would do the blue collar work that would come and tear it off. And it was literally back-breaking work, where I'd be like, hey man, my back hurts so bad. I can't like stand up straight, and my wrists hurt. So we got to duct tape them, the old school Midwest, where you're just going to make it happen and whatever you have to do.
Manual labor wasn't for you.
No, I knew that motivated me to go to college. That was it. I was like, I'm making great money for a 15, 16-year-old kid. But I cannot. I mean, these guys are 30 and they look like they're 60.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to be that guy when I'm older, right? So I knew that I wanted to go use my brain and be able to go and do something with, talking and thinking, as opposed to just using my hands. Nothing wrong with it, but it just wasn't cut out. Sure. I wasn't cut out for that. Right. So that was, I think, the first moment when I really realized, like, hey, you know what? There's possible. He's a smart guy, but he's not special in any way. Like, it's very possible. My mom had a friend who her husband owned an insurance company, and he did very, very well. He's wealthy. So I saw a few things, and I had a girlfriend like in junior high, and her dad was like a home builder, but it was nobody like really close to the family. So I'd see these little pieces of it. And I don't even think I really understood what being an entrepreneur was. I just knew I just wanted to be kind of my own boss and be able to steer the direction of my own life.
Okay. So you're in corporate America.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing.
Hating it. Yeah. Everybody says find your passion. My passion is I hate corporate America. Can't stand it, man.
I'm right there with you.
Oh, I am unemployable in corporate America now as I've gotten older.
Anytime I worked in and obviously restaurants not corporate America, but it's corporate, right? So you're working for a corporate restaurant, this chain. You're supposed to do this, and that. I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. They love me, but I'm not doing this, that, and the other. So it just didn't make sense to me. But
I struggle with it, and generally they put the people who are rule followers get promoted usually in corporate America. And I experienced too much of that. And so it was something I didn't want to be a part of. But so we're in corporate America, and I needed to find a way out. And then I found a way out, started e-commerce, drop shipping actually other people's products back in 2011. And so selling other people's products, self-taught. I mean, it sounds craid, bought stuff on, watched YouTube back in the day.
Did you just like come up with this idea? Did somebody tell you about it? How did that happen?
Yeah, I was doing sales for a company and came across a customer that was doing this. And I said, wait a minute, I'm doing this. I called a buddy from the parking lot that day and I said, dude, we should do this. Let's do some e-commerce drop shipping. So then just started down that path of learning. And this is back before Upwork. It was called Odesk, I believe. Okay. So I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, life changer, 100% for me. How can I delegate? How can I outsource? I hired a guy in Pakistan, I think, to build a website for me. I didn't know how to build a website. Wow. So that's back in like 2010, 2011. Taught myself AdWords, just started grinding. And so 2 small children, wife, house. So had to make good money. My wife stayed home with the kids. So I was kind of in that in-between area, which is what I tell most people. Don't just quit your job and go start a business.
Right.
Keep your job, start a business, try to make money until that that business can actually replace the income you make from your job.
Or at least get close, and then you can make that leap.
100%. Yeah. I think the reality is most startups fail. It's very, very difficult, right? And I think a lot of times on social media, people see the obvious. They're like, oh my God, all I see is winners, right? All I see is all the people that win. It's because the losers don't talk about losing.
Well, yeah.
And that's one thing I want to talk about on the podcast a lot is I want to talk about the failures, because I think that everything I've done that hasn't worked out has taught me more than when I've got it right.
100%.
And I think too many people are afraid to talk about that. And I think it's just silly. Like, it doesn't hurt my ego. You're going to make mistakes, and you're going to learn from them and not repeat them, right? It's that feedback loop of trying something and learning from it and making it better. And I think that it was a great experience to just grind. I mean, our day job, had the kids, and tried to stay in shape, gave up some sleep, built a website, went down that path, did marketing, tried to make some money, got that rolling. And then honestly, I learned, and this sounds so crazy to me when I think about it now. I bought an online course to do private label manufacturing and selling via Amazon and Shopify and Walmart. That's how I started 8-9 years ago.
What year was this? So
2014.
2011, you kind of like jumped
into drop shipping. Yep.
And then the first 3 years,
just drop shipping other people's products.
Making money?
Yep.
You're doing good?
Yeah, we're profitable, making money every month. My buddy and I, Luke and I were doing it together, and we were making money and selling some stuff and made some money. And I was like, but I'm selling other people's products, and so is everybody else. How am I going to differentiate? We're just going to race to the bottom, and the margin's going to get compressed, which is the problem with drop shipping, is you're just selling somebody else's product.
Right.
And so now you're purely a reseller.
So when you're drop shipping, you actually have the physical products?
Nope.
So explain that.
Yeah, good question. So drop shipping essentially is I'm a marketing machine. I'm selling somebody else's product on my own channel. So I create back then it was Volusion. Nowadays, everybody uses Shopify, which is what we use now. Shopify, you create a website and you market your website to your consumer, the consumer you want to sell to. They come on there, they buy it, and then you use another company to ship it. So that's what the drop shipping part is. You're not actually taking the inventory in and warehousing it. You're shipping it from another location.
You're just doing the marketing.
The marketing. It's a marketing engine, essentially, is what a drop shipping is.
Okay.
Nowadays, you can build a website in 10 minutes.
Right.
You can use Alibaba. You can find, the world is truly flat, as Thomas Friedman said. You can go out and find all these.
You don't actually believe that, do you?
The world is flat? No, I'm not a flat earther.
Just making sure.
Not a flat earther.
I was going to have to take
No, not a flat earther. Okay. But Thomas Friedman, journalist, wrote a book about the world is flat maybe 15 years ago, talking about how everything was accessible. And you could actually access China, and you could access all these other countries, and you could communicate much quicker now because of the technology that had happened. So I bought a course online. I said, how do I do so? Wait, I can make my own products. I don't know how to do that. I could make my own brand, and I could brand my own products. So I bought a course. They taught you the basics, except the whole part about like shipping it. How do you get it from somewhere? So I booked a trip to China, and I went to Guangzhou, China. Nice. I knew nothing.
Had you traveled much before this?
Not to Asia. I'd never been to Asia. I think I've been to Europe maybe a couple times, but I'd never been to Asia. I booked a trip to Guangzhou, China, 14-hour direct flight from LA. And I told some of my friends about it. And 3 guys were like, hey, we want to come with. And I said, I'm not running a tour. Like, this is my first time, guys. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, no, but you're interested. And I told them why I was going. They're like, well, yeah, but you're going. I want to go with.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, here's my flights. Here's the hotel I got.
Did you like set up with a company? Like, what was the whole thing? Like,
no, I literally got online. I bought a flight.
Yeah.
I looked for a hotel, and I booked a hotel.
Okay, go ahead.
And to go to the Canton Fair.
Great.
So the Canton Fair is in Guangzhou, China. It's the largest trade show in the world.
Okay.
Somewhere around 11 million to 12 million square feet. Pre-COVID. It's unbelievable. Imagine a football stadium with multiple levels, full of exhibitors, times 3 of those buildings.
How many days is this?
This is the crazy part. It's 4 days long for phase 1. They come in, they tear everything down for 3 days. They build it back up for phase 2. They come down, tear it down again for 3 more days, and they build it back up for phase 3. So this 11 to 12 million square feet has 3 phases of full with exhibitors. And then they do it by category. Like, phase 3 might be medical and textiles and something else. Phase 1 will be more like industrial. Wow. And so they break it by category. So if you're in that space, you can just stay in phase 1 or 2 or 3. But I booked it to just go to, I think, 1 phase maybe. And so again, I don't know Mandarin. I don't know anything. I mean, I just showed up and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. Got it. You have to get an invitation. You had to get a visa to go to China.
How'd you get an invite?
I think I reached out on Alibaba, found a couple of suppliers.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, I want to come visit. I want to see your products. Sure. Will you be exhibiting at the trade show? Yes. And so they give you an official letter, and then you go and get a visa to travel to China. Again, this was feels like a long time ago. It was only like 8-9 years ago.
Right.
And I went there. We got there, and I was like, I was like a kid in a candy store. It was like a mall. They build them up like this really nice exhibit. I've been to a bunch of trade shows, and the booths were amazing. Some of them were like almost like a mall. They were really well built and really beautiful, because that's how they get all their, everyone comes from all over the world.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot of English.
This is not a Vegas
no, this is not a Vegas gambit where everybody goes and gets drunk and tries to have fun for a weekend. This is like 3% Americans. I mean, maybe 2, 1. You're walking around and there are people everywhere, and there are not that many Americans. You're not hearing even a lot of English. You're hearing all over Asia, a lot of European, some African, a lot of Middle East.
I assume most spoke English, though, for you to be able to communicate.
That's always the fun part. No, I wish it was that easy. But generally, each booth would have one person or maybe 2 people that had pretty decent English. I used a lot of Google Translate.
Oh, nice.
I try to figure things out. And, you know, a lot of miming gestures, you know, cut it out. I mean, just all this kind of fun stuff, trying to have fun. But yeah, it's really like bridging a gap. Anybody that's ever been, but China's unlike any other country I've ever been to. It's like a different world. I mean, compared to every other country I've been to, and the languages don't connect in any way. It's a tonal language. I mean, it's completely different, but went there and I remember I was sold. Like I knew the concept. The concept is buy a product for cheap, build a brand around it, hopefully make the product better, bring it into the United States, sell it on one of your channels, whether that's Amazon, Walmart, or Shopify. This is the private label business. Take advantage of the marketing. If it's Amazon, they have a captive audience, or Walmart captive audience, or you're going to market yourself. And then you're going to sell the product and you're going to make the difference. There's going to be advertising costs and things along the way, but then you're going to make that margin in between. What I didn't realize before I went is how cheap things are made in China, how inexpensive it is in China. And one of the first things I saw, I was trying to FaceTime my wife. It must have been 2014 or early 2015 is actually when it was. I bought her one of these circular face brushes for Christmas. And it was like some brand, Remington, or some brand you buy at Ulta or Sephora. It was $150 for like the little kit.
Right.
And I go and I walk through the trade show, and they have the exact same handheld facial brush for $9. And I was like, hey, babe, you got to see this. Look at this. This looks exactly the same thing I just bought you for $150.
Now, is this $9 wholesale?
Yeah. You're buying from factory.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's not wholesale. It's called OEM, which is an original equipment manufacturer. That's what we refer to it as. The factory is truly the factory. Now, we could go into this for hours, but it's a whole different world over there. And what I mean by that is they all pretend to be a factory. And a lot of times in China, they have a trading company that's in between the actual factory and you. So because Canton Fair has been going on for 70 years, something like that, these booths are hard to come by, especially pre-COVID. So what they'll do is they'll get a booth and they'll never give it up. And so there might even be a factory, there'll be a trading company, and they'll say a name up there and you'll go and talk to them. And I learned this after going every 6 months for a few years. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Are you really the factory? Yeah. We have a factory. Can you show me a video of your factory? Yeah, let me find that video. Can you show me some pictures from your factory. They're not really. There's a middleman trying to make money to close that gap. Of course. Generally, they speak English a little better. They understand the market a little better. They understand the marketing a little better. But the goal was to try to find the factory, work with the factory, build a better product. So we might do some basic design changes, right? It might be physical colors. It might be sizing. It might be quality. It might be materials. Try to make a better product by understanding what the market wants or what the consumers want, making a better product then. Had success. I had an understanding of marketing from doing e-commerce drop shipping and understood how to do it. So I was able to launch and successfully launch the first brand. Since then, I've launched, I want to say 8 or 9 brands. We've sold 3 brands. When I say a brand, it's usually a small collection of products, as small as 1 product, and then also all the way up to like 25 products. Okay. And so they're typically in one niche. And then I've sold a few of them over the last few years. And then we still have handful of brands right now. And so we have a team here in Phoenix. We have a team in the Philippines. We have a couple of full-time people in India. So it was really all me or a partner in the beginning for the first few years. And then it's shifted over the last 4 years to the team here and the team overseas. And so I can focus more on my unique abilities.
Okay.
So that's how I got started being an entrepreneur. And then I've just tried to evolve and learn and constantly learn. I'm always wanting to learn. How can I be better at everything that I'm trying to do? And that whole journey is really what I want to share with everybody else, right? So I want to be able to share where I've come from, my journey, the things I've learned, the mistakes I've made. And then also we're just halfway down the path, or maybe even a quarter of the way down the path of where I'm going. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with friends. Visit I'mTheOne.com and ask me anything. And as always, stay curious and never stop becoming the one.